In this session, we'll be looking at social selling and social media marketing. And the methodology we'll be using in this session is one that has been constructed all to do with return on investment. The first thing with social media that we always look at is we perform a full audit. It's so crucial to understand what's going on in your market, which platforms your audiences are using, and what your actual social presence is like. The second section is most important for social media. It's the content. It's often the area that people struggle with most. Now, the section here, this is critical. This is the actions. When we see people constructing their social media plan and they're looking at their actual return on investment and who's going to be doing the social media, quite often what happens is people don't actually break down the social plan or the content strategy or the overall strategy or goals and objectives into meaningful daily actions. What we find is that for social media success, it's really critical to understand who's going to do the social media, who is going to create the content, but really probably more importantly, how is that going to affect the working day? It's quite difficult to actually pull out, say, a whole hour of your time to actually dedicate to social media. It tends to be part of someone's role. What we're suggesting with this methodology is that we start breaking down the actions into manageable bite-sized chunks. So looking at social media from an aspect of actually carrying out a set of actions for 10 minutes a day. Content creation is going to have to be separate for that. It's sometimes quite quick to maybe do a quick photo or a graphic for your daily actions and posting. But for additional content like video making or doing things like articles and infographics, there will be more time. Now, someone asked me the other day, how long would you need to spend on social media to have a fully encompassed strategy? Generally 3 hours. You need to work very smart on social media and you need to make sure that those actions are actually reaping a benefit. So we need to consider within RCAR return on investment. So the 4 sections we're going to look at is audit, content, actions, and ROI. Now, social media marketing feels like it's been around forever now. Basically, it refers to the process of gaining traffic or attention through social media sites. So often we have clients and people who come on courses who are just desperate to drive traffic through social media. But we need to consider one thing, that actually 80% of the time we're staying in with social media sites. Now, what does that mean? It means that when you're looking at a news feed on Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn, not always is there a need to leave. And actually, those social networks, they don't want you to leave. They don't create a whole platform to send people off in other directions to other websites. Now, where social media can be really effective is when we start to consider, if we're staying on the social media sites 80% of the time, what are we actually leaving for? Well, we might leave to buy something. We might leave to read a piece of urgent news. For instance, you've got to kind of think about, if it was a video, are we going to leave social media? No, because the video is there. If we see something like an infographic or an image with a stat or a fact, are we going to do anything with that? No, we'll probably comment, like, and share it. Again, with infographics and things like that, nowadays, there is not always a need to leave social media for it to be effective. One of the things that someone said to me, well, how do you deem if it's, really effective? Well, look at what you're actually posting and why you're posting it. Do you need them to leave? If it's an article like tips or something like that, that's the sort of thing we would leave for. So try and consider that when you're posting content, 80% of the time we can engage within the platform, and only 20% of the time might we be looking at, gaining more traffic through a website. The thing with articles, say for instance, if you want to buy something, well, you can buy it through Facebook. Again, you've got articles through LinkedIn and Facebook. They are platforms that are building in more and more mechanisms so that we don't have to leave. So you can write a blog on Twitter, you can write a blog on LinkedIn, and you can do the same on Facebook. Twitter and Facebook are probably features that a lot of businesses still aren't using, so there's a great opportunity there. But you've got to think about, if somebody just reads a social media post and actually is aware of your brand or what you've said, is that effective? Well, yes, it is. Now, let's look at social selling. This is something we get asked a lot about. People tend to be put off in business and disheartened because they don't see that they're reaping any benefit. They're not turning the social network into actual cash. So, what is social selling? Well, social selling is the process of developing relationships as part of the sale process. So, platforms like LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and so on mean that you can actually drive a relationship and build momentum through these platforms. LinkedIn's a perfect example. It's a bit like your online CRM, your content or contact relationship management database. Try and consider what you're using these platforms for. And in essence, the whole purpose of social media is just about reaching more of your audience, getting more people to know about you, getting people to understand what your brand is and what you stand for, and educating people of what value you can add to their lives. And then obviously, if you're growing your network and you're getting people to engage in social media, then that is effective social media. The great thing is that the majority of time when we're communicating, and often the items that go viral are not paid for. Yes, there is reasonings and arguments for using social media advertising, and it can be very efficient. But to be honest with you, the main bulk of your strategy can really be driven through free social media tactics. We've got 3 billion internet users. This is growing day by day, more and more people using mobile. Social media accounts are very active, and we've got about 2/3 of internet users now using social media, and especially in business. Now, let's look at social media objectives. Why are we doing it? Well, we're looking for awareness. We're looking for them to act. We're looking for them to engage or consider or buy. And ultimately, when we set out on our social media plan, we should be looking at things like business conversion. So actual lead generation. This is the key to actually having a good return on investment. If you're driving leads through competitions, free guides, anything that you're actually capturing somebody's email address for, subscribing to a blog or whatever, then you're building that sales funnel. And then you can start to market to those people through multi-channels and multi-platforms. Now, brand awareness. What social media is about, it's very much kind of geared at a sort of a tell, not sell. And what that means is that it's the classic kind of gym advertising that we used to see when social media came out, whereby people might say, join the gym, it's $5.99. That's going to annoy someone who joined last month at $9.99. But that's not really the reasoning around why they're joining the gym. They want to see human interest stories. And it's a bit like when we talk about, digital marketing qualifications. We might be producing articles and infographics all around digital marketing salaries, benchmarks, career paths, all about sort of career and salary and promotional prospects, because ultimately people don't do a qualification to do the assignment and sit the exam. They do it to have that accolade to further their own personal development or actual career. So try and think about what it is that you do, and try and think about all of the obstacles, the reasonings and value behind the product or services that you're promoting and what your business stands for. So tell your story. Now, we're looking at customer experience, anything that can enhance the customer experience or the customer journey. They need to be considered in the objectives. What are we doing? Are we providing a platform where we can use it for customer service? We also need to look at things like security and risk mitigation within social media. When we look at objectives, this could be just purely around about sort of keeping ahead of your competitors. This could be about educating people about news and keeping people up to date with it. So there's so many different things we can do. Now, return on investment and metrics is all about evaluating, measuring, improving. So what are we going to measure? Well, every day people say, I find it really hard to kind of judge whether my social media is working. Well, think about this. We can look at reach, how far our content has traveled. We can see who has commented, liked, and shared it. We can see how many people watched something or went to a website. We can use things like heat mapping with insights to see how your social media traffic engage with your website. We can also measure, really quantifiable, the amount of leads that were generated. So how many people contacted you, inquired, how many people signed up for a free guide or a competition. How many people did you actually grow your network by? how many people signed up for something on the website or actually converted to a customer, and what was the revenue generated behind it. Now, it's very easy with product or e-commerce related sites, but a lot of professional services don't have that quantifiable. So what is the metric you're measuring? Well, if somebody took up a free trial or did an evaluation survey or downloaded a free white paper or guide, these are all leads that you can ultimately track within the business to see if they've converted and see which is the most effective lead source. So how does ROI work for social media? Well, quite simply, we're looking at the return, and this is measured in the actual pound signs, the dollars, the amount of money you're actually earning. Now, we deal with people globally, so it's all to do with whatever currency you're working in. We need to look at the profit divided by the total investment, which is things like the people and the hours or the ad budget you've put into it, multiply by 100, and that's going to give you your social media ROI. The other things you need to consider are things like your conversion and your growth. So how many people did you grow your network by? How many people engaged in your content? And how many people ultimately converted? So try and think about breaking down your social media. We use a strategy called the 7 steps to social media success. And within that, we have the Magic 10. This is all centered around appealing to the social media algorithms. And one of the things that we know that businesses struggle with is that breaking down the actions behind the overall strategy into daily tasks, taking 10 minutes a day rather than an hour, using social media consistently and frequently, but also creating content natively within social media. There's a huge temptation for people to be constantly using things like Hootsuite and Buffer. The social networks don't want you to be using an external software. They are wanting you to use their own. Now, we've seen the emergence of Twitter, a design and creative studio that's appeared. Now, some people already have access to that, whereby you can start to schedule and control content now within each of the platforms, which is a far better methodology and strategy because they will reward that activity rather than content that's been posted from social media management tools. Now, the Magic 10 has lots of different considerations. It's all about growing your network. It's about building up engagement and looking at two-way engagement. If you don't go on to social media and proactively grow your network by connecting with people and comment, like, and share on others' people's content, it's going to take you on average about 3 years longer to actually reach social media success and hit that nirvana point where things are actually working for you. So let's look at the ACAR methodology in a bit more detail. So auditing, we're going to look at platforms, audience, social presence, look at content inspiration, ideas, look at your competitors. Start trying to develop a plan and goals. What are your overall objectives? Why are you doing it? So many people are just posting because everyone else is. You have to have a reason. And I would always suggest with social media to actually run a campaign. Do something over a 4-week period, like a competition or a content theme, and build that content matrix so that you're telling your company's story, setting your voice and creating quality content through a mix of media, having an article that you maybe do an infographic or an animated video on the back of, and just having the same content presented in different ways will appeal to different audiences, but will actually build momentum around that theme. Now, we need to look at actions. The things we need to consider is 10 minutes a day, consistency and frequency. Social media platforms want you to reach as many people as possible, but you have to adhere to their algorithm, which is basically if you're posting natively, you're consistently using it, and you're using good, rich content media. So are they going to reward a video more than they're going to reward a piece of text on social media? Well, the answer to that is quite simply, no one's ever said, did you see that piece of text that went viral? Because it didn't. A video doesn't go viral on YouTube. It goes viral because it's been shared on social media. Anything that has a good pickup and engagement will travel and travel because people will engage with it and comment, and it will keep appearing in the news feed. So think about how long someone's piece of content actually lives for. And the actual life cycle of a social media post is between 3 and 6 hours. when you post something, not everybody gets it at the same time. People have different size of networks. If you had 3 networks and you had, 3 people in your network, you might only see 3 things in your newsfeed. If you've got thousands of people, you're going to be seeing content at different times of day. Also consider what those daily actions are going to be. Comment, liking, sharing, connecting with people, posting every day, and looking at the actual content creation behind it. Now, the last bit, the ROI, is so important. We always recommend you actually create a template so that you can measure, evaluate, and improve. You're going to use things like social media software, Google Analytics to track that behavior and get a really good idea of what's working and what's actually driving return on investment, real leads. So your content matrix needs to look a little bit like this. 50% of content, which is going to drive maybe back to your blog, or 25% of content curated from other sources. Another 20% content will support your overall goals, so like the selling and the lead generation, with 5% of content being about sort of the HR and the culture, the people within the business. We all want to see what your business looks like, who those people are. Now, the rules that we look at are the 80-20 and the rule of thirds. Basically, 80% of posts should inform, educate, and entertain, and only 20% are directly promoting a brand. The rule of thirds concentrates on the fact that a third of your social content promotes your business, converts readers, and generates profit. A third then is all about sharing ideas, stories, thought leader, influencer, content that, puts you at the top of your industry. A third of your social content then needs to be about personal interactions with your audience, talking to people, getting yourself on their radar. Now, this all comes back to lifecycle marketing and looking at attracting interest, capturing leads, nurturing prospects. Your social media needs to be hooked in with your overall digital marketing plan. So, social media works in tandem with email marketing, nurturing those prospects, automation, and all of the other channels that go into the digital marketing mix. It can't survive or should never be treated on its own. Now, the last section, we're just going to do a little recap. We need to be concentrating on social media driving leads. We then need to make sure that we're constantly reaching new people. We need to get on people's radar. Posting the same things to the same network is never going to get you anywhere. We need people to pick up our content and engage with it. And every time someone comments, likes, and shares, it's going to make that content travel to their own network. So building and growing your network, find people on your social networks every day to connect with, build your own network, target the people you want to actually meet with. It's things like going on to LinkedIn and not just posting on your company page or on your own, profile in your newsfeed, but using things like groups to drive pull-through marketing so that you're putting content, for instance, for us, maybe we would use a digital marketing group. We post an article all about the top trends in digital marketing for 2018 and all these future insights. Well, if we're posting it into an interest group that people are already interested in that topic, then it's going to get far more engagement. And then that's going to act like pull-through marketing. Now, engaging. What does social success look like? Well, it's commenting, liking, and sharing, connecting, and also building influencers. I would strongly suggest that you try and find a key network of people who are going to be your advocates, not just your customers, but alliances and partners or accrediting bodies and associations you work with who will proactively look out for your content in exchange for you doing the same, and who will proactively engage in it and comment, like, and share. Now, in terms of social media and obviously the learning pathway, there's so many different things that people can actually upskill in nowadays for social media. In the whole digital marketing mix, we have everything from sort of how to use social media courses. We have fast-track social media courses, which are intensive 2 or 3 day courses. One of the most popular things that we have at the moment is video marketing and the digital creative workshop. This really helps strengthen people's social media. Again, the advanced social media course really kind of focuses on the strategy. What we need is to have kind of a set of daily actions, a good content matrix and strategy. And for those who are even more involved in social media, who really want to drive the social media success, we now have things like social media qualifications, worldwide recognized qualifications, that people can actually go into the extreme depths of social media to really drive lead generation and actually look at the planning and auditing process for social media. We know that when people upskill in social and they have a dedicated plan, it's always going to be far more effective. So check out the next session. We're going to have a series, obviously, of 5 videos in total, covering all aspects of social and digital marketing. The final one that we're going to finish on is the digital marketing. This is planning and strategy as a whole. So it's going to take all of the elements of social media, email marketing, search marketing, and we're going to pull it all together into one final session. So in the next video, you'll be seeing our dynamic digital marketing model, which encompasses all the methodologies that we've seen. Now, if you do have any questions, then feel free, obviously, to post them in the learning community. We have the digital developer course, which is free. You can see all of the content, and then you have the opportunity to upgrade to the fast track, which will give you all 10 online courses. Or you can choose to pick and mix using any of the online courses to upskill and add to your own learning portal. So we'll see you in the next session, which will cover digital marketing.